considering we met on set, like what do you think about Boston becoming the new like Hollywood? Like, what do you think about that?
Well, I know there's been a lot of talk, and there's been the Hollywood East name dropped a lot. Yeah. And, I think that Boston has a lot of potential, and I think that it is definitely becoming a place for movies to be made. But like I said, before, is that I'm just very nervous that with all this stuff happening, that there's going to be people coming in trying to sell you on the Hollywood illusion. Mm-hmm. When I went out to LA, which I'll probably come back to the story in a little bit,
sure.
But there was a lot of people that wanted to just take your money. And they wanted to tell you, oh yeah, we're going to make you a star. And they just wanted you to hand over cash and tell you that you were going to be the next star, which is fine, I guess, if you want to pay people to believe in that. It's kind of like those placebos or those miracle pills that they tell you that people buy and they go, oh, la-di-da, I'm so great, or I'm so happy and I'm healthy now. But yet, in actuality, it's not doing anything because it's just a state of mind. So I really believe that Boston will become a so-called Hollywood East. But like I've said a million times, it's going to be a matter of, can we be competitive? Can we stay competitive with tax incentives? Can we get these studios in, which I heard that there is really a large, significant land deal that happened down in Plymouth with Waverly Oaks or something, and those guys are supposedly, they bought it. I'm not sure the exact specifics, but I have heard that they still have to go before a zoning board, so that's huge.
And what about the one in Weymouth? You're
Weymouth
trying to push
right now,
one.
yeah, I've been really trying to push the incentive, and I've really been trying to push Weymouth because to me, I have no problem with driving to Plymouth, but I just think Plymouth is a little on the outskirts of Boston.
And where is Plymouth?
It's about maybe 40 minutes south of Boston, yeah.
Now, with the Weymouth, there's a bill right now?
There's a bill inside the House. It's called it's House Bill 4784. And basically that bill gives an incentive for anyone that wants to spend, I believe it's $500,000 on building a studio, which would be 2 or more sound stages. And it would basically give you an incentive the same as they give a company that wants to come in and do manufacturing or build a manufacturing plant. Most of the time, the government will subsidize or give a credit to someone who wants to come into your state and create jobs. And so in this case of this studio, and I'm sure that, I've joked with Kirkpatrick down in Plymouth about that if the bill passes, it's going to help every studio. And to me, I just think that if another state, like right now, New York has passed, I believe it's 35%. Now, they have specific limitations on their incentive that certain things like certain payrolls and stuff like that are excluded from their tax incentive, whereas in Mass, it's 25% of the whole production, no matter whether it's, paying the main actor or paying the director.
Right.
It's automatically 25%. Now, Michigan just passed a new one that's huge. It's like 40%. I don't know the exact specifications. Now, aside from that, infrastructure is big too, because we all know that if you want to make a business, you're going to need to have staff. You're going to need to have infrastructure. You're going to need to have the ability to make the films all at once. So if a place like Michigan passes a tax incentive that's 40%, which everyone goes, oh my God, now everyone's going to go to Michigan and we're going to lose all this business. Well, that's fine, but the thing is that Michigan may not have the infrastructure that, say, we do here in Boston, or say, they may not have, no one wants to go to Michigan. We have all these fabulous sports teams. We have, this historical city. We have everything aside from the desert in our area. And so a lot of people, that's enticing to come and film here. And so
you actually sent out a bulletin about a week ago about sending an email to your senator about the bill.
Yeah, well, because I really do. I believe it's very important. Like with Plymouth, they're gonna go and they're gonna have to go through the zoning board, and then they're gonna probably build. It's gonna be like a year and a half. But in Weymouth, if this bill goes through, which, like I said, it's not exclusive to strictly Weymouth. This bill is, if somebody in, say, South Boston wants to build 2 sound stages, they're going to get the same incentive to build. And I mean, that's putting money directly into our economy now. And so, like in the case of Weymouth, they're ready to go. They're just waiting on this incentive to build. And so I know that a lot of people will say, well, why should we give any money to the film business? But like I've said, I think that we really need to be competitive, and we really need to stay on top of these credits. And to have a studio in the area is huge, because a place like Michigan doesn't have a studio.
Right, and it's cold.
And it's cold. and they have they have the Great Lakes, but aside from that, I don't know what else they have, Yeah. Kalamazoo.
Right, exactly. So how did you get started in acting? Like, at what age did you decide this is what I want to do?
I started acting when I was a kid. I've said before, growing up, I didn't have exactly the greatest house environment. So I started going out back and playing pretend, and and just basically creating my little stories and characters and all this stuff, kind of to escape, And as I got older, I started doing drama club, and I started doing plays, and I did theater. And, I really enjoyed it, because, I remember I did this play, reading, writing, and arithmetic in high school. And I remember going to the junior high. And afterwards, I got fan mail from all these little kids. And I was so excited. And, I was talking to other people, and they're like, I didn't get any fan mail. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is awesome, Yeah. And so it really just made me really want to pursue this. And as I went to high school, I did the morning announcements. And I caught a lot of heat for doing the morning announcements. But I stayed with it. And then after school, my friend that I had met, Ryan Maynard in high school, now he's Ryan Baylor.
That's his stage name?
He's sort of changed his name. So it's his stage name, and I think it's legitimately his real name. I'd have to call him and just say, hey, let me see your license, dude.
Exactly.
But he decided that he wanted to go out to LA. And so I was like, awesome, And ever since I was a kid, I always thought, like every kid, I thought, I'm going to be a star. I got it. I'm going to do it. And so I was like, yeah, I'll go out with you, And so we went out, and it was horror. It was hell. We drove across country. We stayed in hotels. We were just trying to make it. And we got out to LA, and we're like, what do we do?
Right.
So
now, what do you think, the castings out there and the auditions, are they easier out there or here? Or?
Well, I think it's a lot easier out here. I think that it just goes back to that thing. Out here, it's so fewer people. So when you really get involved in this community,
when we go to casting calls, we already know 20 people.
Right. You know so many people. You pretty much the casting director will know you by name. You'll know the casting director by name. And I think that that's great. Out in LA, when I first got out there, I remember I spent $100 to get on some extras list, which was, it was what it was, They've obviously got to pay their bills, so... but that was 10 years ago. I couldn't imagine what it would be now if I went out there and...
Do you think that at some point you will?
Oh yeah. I definitely think that I will, but I just think right now, especially in this area, I just need to be here. There's so much going on that I just need to contribute, and I need to make sure that in my mind, I need to make sure that everything really grows. And I'm not saying that, I'm responsible for the whole thing, but I just feel each one of us in this area has to be responsible for this community, and making sure that we really do try to do as much as we can to help this area out and help this community.
Right. So speaking of the community, there's an event coming up on July 27th. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
It's actually right down the street, so it's pretty good. It's the Filmmaker Shindig. Myself and Jenna Lunarno, that's her stage name, we came up with a event where filmmakers could get together and basically to talk to each other and network, which is huge. Networking is, I would say, it's more important than anything else you do in this business.